So this is the recording for Animatics 2 of the short film The Interview. The initial opening or establishing shot for the film will be a GoPro mounted shot from behind the back left tyre of the car that is featured heavily within the film. This shot will last around 6 to 7 seconds long, and throughout this shot there will be the title shown on the left side of the shot. So there'll be 2/3 of the shot that is road and cars and oncoming traffic and whatnot, and then 1/3 which is filled with the car that you can see, so probably the back tyre and the car as it goes off. The drawing isn't extremely clear, but that's the idea, and the title will be on the 2/3 side of that shot. We then move to the next shot, which is a shot from about where the dashboard is of our two main characters, Ted and Harry. Harry is driving and Ted is just sitting there, and there'll be a little bit of dialogue in this little bit, not too much though, because the dialogue comes in the next shot, which is a shot over the shoulder shot, kind of close up of Harry's face. As you can see, he's talking to the character of Ted. And as the conversation goes on, this will be a shot reverse shot sequence of over the shoulders of both these two characters as they talk, because this is the initial impression all the audience are going to get of these two characters. So this is the first thing they're going to see of them, and so we want this first probably about a minute long, because I think this whole shot reverse shot sequence of them talking within the car will last around 50 seconds to a minute long, as we want the audience to know the characters, and this is where all the character development is going to come in, because a lot of the film is going to be spent just watching Ted and other characters that we will only see for a couple seconds. So this is where we learn what Ted's character is like and what Harry's character is like, and the relationship between the two characters. So we'll learn that Harry and Ted are really good friends, childhood friends, and we'll learn that Ted is a bit silly and a bit slow at times, which is why it's taken him so long to get a job, and this will help for the audience to accept his shortcomings in the interviews to come, because otherwise they might come across as just a bit dumb and the comedy would be lost. But as they see that's his actual character, they'd find a lot more comedy in the problems he has within the interviews. It will then cut back to the initial shot we get of the two characters at the dashboard of them in a car, and this is a very pivotal shot actually, as every time the interviews fail or succeed, we have this shot shown to us. So as the audience, they're meant to look at this shot and relate it to what they first see. So we do a sandwich almost of these two shots, where at the beginning we see the two characters from the dash, and then we see the two characters from the dash again after all the development and the shot reverse shot in the car. So then every time we see this shot, the audience is reminded of the characters' behaviours and their traits and their relationship to each other. So it's quite an important shot throughout the entire short film. It will last around 3 seconds long, and it's about a medium shot to a close-up every time. We then go to a long shot of the car pulling into we've already got the location for it. We think it's either going to be the Gatwick estate or industrial estate, or by the industrial estate, County Oak. There's a big building with glass reflective panels all over it, looking very businessy and that kind of feel that we want to portray. So it's going to be a long shot of the car pulling up, or establishing shot of it pulling up and parking up, which will be about 11 seconds long. And then we'll have a tracking shot from Harry's door side, where the camera will pan out from the window as the door opens, follow Harry to the front end of the car, and then Harry will walk round out of frame and back into frame as he talks to Ted and obviously wishes him luck for this interview. It's the first one we're going to see him go into. That's going to be about a 13-second shot with including the tracking. We're going to do the tracking with a gimbal or a slider that we're going to use to make it nice and smooth. The next shot, it's a shot of Ted sitting next to an extra, obviously both waiting for the interview. And this is a bit foreshadowy, but we'll come to that later. It's about 5 seconds long. It's going to be about a medium shot, and then someone will come in and bring him into the interview. And the man who brings him in is going to be Lee, who is a businessman, very, very well dressed in a big suit. He's quite a large man. He's quite old. so he's very formal. Ted's going to be welcomed in a very formal manner, shaking hands and stuff like that. And the camera will be a high angle on Lee, looking down onto Ted to portray the idea that Ted is below Lee and that he's not worthy of that kind of job. It will be an over-the-shoulder sequence, again, of a shot, reverse shot, following the 180-degree rule, as the two talk and the interview proceeds. It will then be a tracking shot over the shoulder of Lee, over the shoulder of Ted, towards Lee, as we can see that Ted is looking at something on Lee's finger, and then it will come into a close-up of Lee's hand, which is obviously like a match on action where we can see he's looking at it, and then it will come to that. And on that, we'll have a shot reverse shot sequence of the ring and Ted's face, and each time it will go from the ring and Ted will be doing a voice over it, and it will cut back to Ted's face, obviously trying to look like he's still focusing on Lee, but is actually getting distracted by the ring quite heavily. So it'll be about a 20-second sequence of this distraction and this issue going on, and then finally it'll end with the Lee, the manager, the guy employer, losing it a bit and telling him he's got to go because he's just not focusing on the interview and not answering any of the questions because he's getting so distracted, which will have quite a lot of comedy for the audience because it's just the character of Ted, as we see in that first initial sequence. That's what he's like. He just gets distracted by things. And so they'll find quite a lot of comedy in that. The next shot is the medium shot again. There'll be no transition of him walking out the building. It'll just cut straight to him getting into the car, that medium shot of them from the dash, both at the car, which is to foreshadow, obviously, the bit we learnt earlier about the two characters, remind the audience of that. But at the same time, we'll see the expressions on Harry's face, the friend. He'll be quite disappointed in Ted because obviously he wants him to get this job, and he's had a lot of interviews and he's at the age now where he should have had a job, probably about 2022, I think is what we estimate him to be. This will be about 12-second shot as they talk, and he kind of talks him through it, and then it will cut to another shot from behind it. So we'll mix it up a little bit, show a bit of diversity in our framing. It'll be behind the two chairs of the characters. It'll be about a 10-second shot, and you'll see Harry and Ted exchange some conversation about the next interview. Obviously, him telling him, you got to get this one, come on, you got to focus, stop doing what you normally do. And then it'll be a long shot of Harry getting out of the car and walking to the next interview location, which is Delta Force, the paintball place, which we've got permissions for and are allowed to do the shoot we want to there. And then this next sequence, or the next part of the short film, I'll hand over to Tom to analyse.
Right, the next shot we see is an extreme long shot lasting about 5 seconds of Jordan's character Ted just looking at the targets, waiting for the manager to walk over to him. The next shot is a match on action close-up of Ted's face, lasting about 5 seconds of him just looking back and forth at the gun, thinking, I want to pick this up because of the way he is. The next shot is a long shot. It's lasting about 14 seconds. It is Ted shooting the targets, having a wild time. Then we have a long shot lasting about 7 seconds of the gun pointing at the ground and Ted shooting himself in the foot. The next shot is a medium shot lasting about 8 seconds of Ted jumping about. He's in pain because he shot himself in the foot. And then we got the manager coming over, shaking his head, and Ted's still jumping about, shaking his head because he's disappointed in him because he just shot himself in the foot. The next shot is a close-up. We're going back to the car, back to the first shot, of Ted's character, very upset, and Harry, played by me, very angry that he hasn't found a job which he can do. The next shot is still in the car, is a medium shot of the characters, and the camera is going to be switching to whichever character is talking. So, for example, if my character is talking, the camera's going to be on me, and if Jordan's character is talking, the camera's going to be on him, and that's going to last about 10 seconds. Then the other shot is the same shot as before, but both they have keep switching to whoever is talking, and that is a medium shot, and that is going to last about 8 seconds.
Till the dialogue finishes, yeah.
Till the dialogue finishes. The next shot is an extreme long shot lasting about 8 seconds of John's character walking out the car into the next interview, which is going to be at Primark.
Yeah.
It's going to be at Primark in Crawley.
We've got permissions for the interview room in Primark, so we're going to use that.
The next shot we see is a long to medium shot lasting about 8 seconds which is John's character Ted in an interview, like waiting room with other interviewees going to be played by extras. The next shot we see is Ted getting up and walking, which the audience at this point is going to think he's walking to the interview room, when in fact the next shot shows him walking into the bathroom, splashing water on his face. This shot is going to be a medium long shot, the same again. 7 seconds, and this shot is going to be him showing like motion for the first time, like he's worried, he wants to get this job, he just doesn't want to mess up anymore. And then the next shot, by this time Ted is already sat back down, he's waiting for his interview, and Mo, this character, is going to come out the interview, he's going to ask him to walk in. This shot is a long shot, it's going to last about 5 seconds. Then it cuts to the next shot, medium shot, 8 seconds, and it is going to be Mo interviewing Ted, John's character. But this character, the boss, is more of a laid-back character, so he has a better chance of getting the job than he has with the other ones.
It's not going to be the longest of sequences for the interview, because it's just going to show the initial start of the interview, and obviously it's going to be different from that first one we saw with Lee, where he shook his hand. It'll be really formal and obviously start asking questions and follow protocol, whereas this next interview we're going to see Mo, he's going to be dressed a bit more laid back. You're going to see the company that he's applying for is a lot more kind of relaxed about things than the companies he's previously gone for, and you'll see that in the initial meeting of the two, and that'll be enough to give the audience enough information to know, okay, this might suit the character of Ted a little bit more, and they might actually understand his shortcomings and rather see them as kind of encourageable things and good creative things rather than something bad, because obviously this is a creative job rather than the probably more business side of the job, which was Lee's interview for.
The next shot is going to cut straight back to the car, again with my character and John's character, and it's a familiar shot because after each interview you expect the characters to be upset, but then you see that both characters are happy, so the audience knows that he's got the job, because obviously it was a laid-back job and he has more chance of getting it, and it just shows that everyone, even someone like Ted can get a job no matter what. There's a job out there for everyone, and this shot is going to last 8 seconds, and it's going to be a medium / close-up shot. And then,
and it's the end shot, well, not the end shot, the one Tom was just talking about, of the two characters in the car both smiling about what's happening, kind of relaying the idea that everyone can get a job, is also going to relate back to that initial shot we were talking about earlier, where it kind of sandwiches in the character development and everyone will kind of think about their relationship again. It'll kind of be quite a reminiscent shot, showing after all these times of these shots we've seen that have ended up in Tom's character, Harry, being angry at Ted, and Ted failing, that actually in this one it's different. He's actually managed to do it and he's got the job.
The last shot is then going to be an establishing shot, which is going to last about 10 seconds, of the car driving away. And then as the car drives away, it reveals the title of the short film, which is going to be The Interview. Mm-hmm. Is that correct? Yeah. It's going to be an interview, and then it's going to fade out to the end.
And then cost and stuff come up, and then that's the end of the Animatics 2. Thank you for listening.